Keren Hayesod was established in 1920. Its aim? To mobilize the Jewish people throughout the world into an army of volunteers working together to prepare the foundations for a Jewish state. In the 70 years since the signing of the Keren Hayesod Manifesto in London, a family of thousands of volunteers in scores of communities has blossomed worldwide. This is their film.
The whole essence of our work is the identification with the State of Israel.
Israel and the Jewish people outside Israel are one.
I feel that Israel is very important to me and to our family because it pulls us all together. It pulls all the Jewish feelings and lots of the Jewish thoughts. It helps the children it gives the children something more to identify with than just being Jewish.
If you want to remain part of the people of Israel and you do not live there, then you have to do work that binds you to your people.
We traveled to London to meet Lionel, Alan, and Michelle. Just 3 of the many who spend hours upon hours outside their careers and homes working for Israel. Through Keren Hayesod, they are determined to bring home the message of Israel, why it is important that all Jews, notwithstanding their own very comfortable lives in the diaspora, should become part of the building of the Jewish state. A part of a dream to bring our people home.
There need not be Jewish refugees today. They have an inalienable home. We work to try and save Jewish lives.
One of the most sacred tasks, if not the most sacred task, that any Jew has is to save the life of another Jew.
We saw very clearly with Entebee when the Jews who were on the plane, Jews from whichever country they came from, they could have been British Jews, there were some British Jews, some French Jews, and Israel just went in. Israel didn't question what nationality they were, and nor did it question what country they were going to go back to live in. If they were going to come and live in Israel, then I'll come and rescue you. Israel just saw Jews in need and went in.
A very interesting anecdote happened to me actually here in Caesarea years after the operation. And that was one Friday evening. We were sitting together with neighbors, and among us there was one of my neighbors, a doctor, new immigrants from France. And he was talking about how tough, how difficult is life in Israel. And after about an hour or so, eventually I asked him, tell me, so why did you do the move? Why did you come here if it's so bad? Why didn't you stay in France where it was so nice and good to you? And then he told me, listen, I have a story for you. In 1976, at 4th of July, I was in hostage in Entebee. And here I stand next to him. The pilot of the first airplane never even dreamed that he was one of the hostages, and he's telling me this story. So that's a small world. That maybe tells us the story about us, about Judaism, about what is Israel for.
For me, the meaning of this, the meaning and the raison d'etre of the existence of the State of Israel is to be the home and haven for every Jew.
Well, I served 6 years as the head of the Israeli Mossad, and as you know, we've had various activities. And when I look back to our activities, I think the most excited one was the activity involved in helping Jews to come to Israel, to their home. Once I remember I joined a team of the Mossad who was engaged in helping Jews coming from an unfriendly land to Israel. They were very terrified. And then I still remember touching one of I think she was the elder daughter in the team, and she just jumped. I mean, she was probably waiting to be beaten by somebody, and the touch of the hand made her so nervous. Then, practically I couldn't even, not in Arabic, I couldn't make them turn to me and speak with me. Then until I said Shema Israel.
Keren Hayesod has helped bring almost 2 million Jews from every corner of the earth home to Israel. And they continue to arrive.
For decades, we have asked ourselves, will the gates be opened? At last it looks as if they are creaking open slowly. Unless we are prepared to receive this immigration, we will miss the greatest opportunity we have to absorb into the country Jews who will be a very important part of the future of the country. It's not sufficient to simply receive them and house them. It is to see that they go into communities where they can work, where they can earn a decent living, where they can see that their children will have opportunities to be educated and to find careers and to find a meaningful life.
I'm feeling that I'm at home. It seems to be so strange that first I didn't intend to go here, but I am very happy that circumstances are so that I am here. That's the place where I should be, and I am lucky now.
This may be the only opportunity that we ever have. Israel has to be a magnet, not just a refuge. We did not do things correctly the first time. We didn't do them correctly because we had no alternative. We had a shortage of funds. We had a shortage of skilled manpower. We had a desperate necessity to house people and to bring them into communities. But there were unfortunate consequences. We found areas that had established themselves that were slums, where there was inadequate housing, inadequate facilities. The object of Project Renewal is to rectify those mistakes, to work together with the local communities and say, together we must try and establish a standard of living here that will enable this community to flourish and to develop of its own accord into the future. But it needs an injection not only of money, but of goodwill, of know-how, of technical expertise. And then there is the very voluntary and still idealistic aliyah that comes from the West.
I work at Teva Pharmaceutical Industries, which is Israel's largest pharmaceutical company. My career at Teva in many respects reflects Israel in microcosm, in that when I started with the company, it was a small, almost garage kind of operation in downtown Tel Aviv. And today is a large international company conforming to the highest standards. For me personally, it's been a very rewarding experience. It's been a very pioneering experience. I'm responsible for the pharmaceutical development of many hundreds of pharmaceutical products which are sold in Israel and abroad, part of a massive export program which our company has.
Many Olim, like the Kazans, got their initial start in Israel through Keren Hayesod, supported programs. Today, the Kazan family lives comfortably in suburban Renana. The girls, Yael and Hila, were born in Israel, whilst the two boys, Ilan and Michael, were born abroad. They are now doing their compulsory military service.
I was coming.
Hi, Eddie. Are the boys home?
No.
Oh, it's been 2 weeks now. Hi, Millie.
Hi.
We have a reasonable standard of living. We both work hard. We live comfortably. I guess you could say that. Well, we're at home now.
Hopefully, the two boys will come home this Shabbat. Their places are set, just in case.
Hello? Oh, Jan, yes, how are you? No, I'm fine. I thought it may be one of the boys. No, they haven't come in. I don't know.
By me saying I would like to go and live in Israel, I'm actually saying that my son has definitely got to go in the army, as the idea of him going in the army is not an easy decision to make, which I think boils down to the fact that it doesn't matter what we in the diaspora do for Israel, if we give a lot of money, if we give a little money, if we give a lot of time, or what we do, or how many times we visit Israel, at the end of the day, we're actually doing next to nothing.
Both the boys are in frontline combat units. Usually whenever there's trouble, they don't come home because they're in the middle of it. We're expecting them home now, and we're not sure whether they'll be coming in or not.
It's very difficult. I can't put myself in that situation. I've grown up in a country where I don't know anybody who went into the army.
I don't think it's possible for every Jew to come and live in Israel, but I do think it's possible and vital for every Jew to be actively involved in Israel.
Israel, so far as diaspora Jewry is concerned, is our front line. And within Israel itself, there are highly sensitive areas so far as frontline work is concerned. And one only has to go physically to those areas to know that within a stone's throw of hostile attackers. We've been there, we've seen how people live, how children are brought up. It's by no means a healthy atmosphere, and one has to admire and encourage those who are still prepared to face the dangers when there are more secure places within Israel itself.
There were those drawn to Israel over 40 years ago, at the beginning, like Leib Golan, a founder of Mayan Baruch, a kibbutz along Israel's northern border.
The settlements on the border, from here through to the Mediterranean, and from here right down to the Dead Sea and to the Red Sea, are connected together. And this is a living link that holds together the land of Israel. It is not guns and it is not aeroplanes, it is a human link on the border of Israel. We've been through 5 or 6 wars here. We've been through all the wars. We've been shelled occasionally. Many of our soldiers have been killed here. Members of the kibbutz, as soldiers, were killed. I personally lost a son who was a pilot. But this is the price that everyone in Israel has paid.
Along Israel's frontier with Lebanon, there is no territorial dispute, yet it remains at the nation's most dangerous border.
Since the establishment of Israel, there have been terrorist attacks on the northern border. They have failed to budge the population. They have withstood it with fortitude and with great bravery. They have sent their children into shelters and they haven't moved. But harsh economic realities are something else. When you feel that you cannot provide for your family, when you feel that there is not hope to provide for your community, then a different sort of desperation sets in. You don't feel that that is something that you can fight as easily as you can repulse a terrorist attack. And that is where we can make a difference.
In this area, the Keren Hayesod and the Magbid are involved in our life. And all the community center, the culture in this area, the sports center, it's built by the Keren Hayesod and by the Magbid. And I can say that the Keren Hayesod and the Magbid, they have a part in our life in this area.
I truly, truly believe that if those people weren't sitting on those borders defending that line completely for Israel, Israel wouldn't be there, and I definitely wouldn't be sitting here in this sort of comfort, leading the sort of life that I and all the Jews who live well in the diaspora lead. I truly believe that we only have the sort of life we have because of the state of Israel.
Depuis environ 40 ans, ma famille et moi-même avons eu la grande chance d'être associés à cette immense aventure qu'est Israël. C'est peut-être la grande aventure humaine qui se soit passée à notre époque.
I believe that we have to look at the state of Israel as one looks at our children. We want for our children the very best, and we want for Israel the very best. Israel can't be a compromise. It must be the very best state for the Jewish people.
Es para nosotros muy importante de que nuestros hijos continúen lo que se ha hecho ya durante más de 2000 años.
It is vital for me to continue that activity which helps this state to grow in all of its ways that build a better Jewish people and a better Jewish state.
For 70 years, Keren Hayesod has been at the heart of nation building. It has created over 1,000 community projects in virtually every town and settlement throughout Israel, enhancing the lives of each and every Israeli.
There isn't a nation in the world that in that time can point to so much, so many achievements, so much excellence. I'd like to see a secure state. I'd like, more than anything else, to see a state at peace, so that its people can flourish, its people can build for themselves a home from which their children can grow up without looking over their shoulders.
peace would be the thing that would be the one thing that would really make Israel much more of an attractive place to live. Because I think all the other things that anyone would want for Israel would automatically follow on once there is peace.
My hope for Israel is to see it established as an Or Lagoyim, a light to the nations, and a Merkaz Ruchani, a spiritual center. A light to the nation, that means a beacon that will indicate to far bigger and wealthier nations how to conduct your lives, how your society should be established. And Merkaz Ruchani, a spiritual center, a nation that is concerned in things other than the material, for the betterment of all people, for peace and for prosperity.
This year, we mark the 70th anniversary of Keren Hayesod. It's a family celebration, the world family of Keren Hayesod.
I think we should start. It's no point waiting anymore.
No, okay, let's start. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר, יום השישי. ויהי ערב ויהי בוקר, יום השישי, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים...
Vayehi Erev, Vayehi Boker, Yom HaShishi.